Greetings fellow snowflakes! This time on Geek Out, I'm going to talk about the fantasy world of Warhammer!
Geek Out! Woo!
Warhammer is a tabletop battle game and a modelling hobby. The game is played with dice, models, tape measure for measuring distances, and some very complicated rules. I'm not going to bore you with the mechanics of it though, I'm just going to focus on the setting itself, as it is this that I find so endlessly engaging. I'm also not discussing Warhammer 40k, the futuristic setting and sister game. That is the subject of a future video. Also, I'm basing what I'm saying on the 8th edition of the game, as that is what I am most familiar with. There have been some recent changes as part of the end times thing that they're doing at the moment, but I haven't played the game for a while and I'm not familiar with the new rules and background. Anyway, the Warhammer world is a fantasy world in which the otherworldly powers of chaos are encroaching thanks to rifts at both poles. There are various human nations in the background, but only 2 of the human kingdoms are playable armies in 8th edition. Those are the armies of the Empire and Bretonnia. The Empire is the more interesting of the 2 human armies, mostly because of the powerful magic that the wizards can wield and the fact that the leader of that army rides on the back of a griffin. There is also a dwarf army, but I've never found dwarfs very interesting myself. But I love elves. I love elves. There are 3 types of elves in Warhammer. There are the High Elves, the Wood Elves, and the Dark Elves. All 3 elf armies include dragons, and dragons are very fucking cool, of course. Dark Elves also have a menagerie of monsters in their armies, such as Chimera and Hydra. All 3 elf armies have powerful magic, and the Wood Elves also have various kinds of walking trees, such as dryads, treekin and treemen. Purely for my love of nature, I like the Wood Elves the most. 2 human armies, the Dwarf army and the armies of the High Elves and the Wood Elves, are all described as being lawful. In other words, they are the good guys. There is one other lawful army, the Lizard Men. If you love dinosaurs and reptiles, then the Lizard Man army is for you. They are ruled over by amphibious mages called Slann, who I like to call frog buddhas, have many dinosaur-like monsters such as stegodons, pterodons and carnosaurs, and are very very good in close combat, and with the uber-powerful magic wielded by the Slann. They follow the orders of the Old Ones, who are kind of like gods, as interpreted by the Slann mage priests. There are 2 neutral armies in Warhammer. One of these is the Ogre Kingdom's army. Ogres can also serve as mercenaries, as all they really care about is feeding their fat bellies. The other neutral army is the mysterious undead army of the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings consists of skeletons and mummies, and there are some really cool models in that army, such as the Necrosphinx, a kind of monster / war machine, the Casket of Souls, and the weird sepulchral stalkers. There's an ancient Egyptian theme to the Tomb Kings that I really enjoy. On the chaotic, evil side are the aforementioned Dark Elves, as well as Orcs and Goblins, Skaven, Vampire Counts, Beastmen, Warriors of Chaos, and Demons of Chaos. Orcs and Goblins are a fun army. Orcs and Goblins are unruly and often squabble amongst themselves, having the animosity rule in the game, which actually makes it very hard to win battles with them because they rarely end up doing what you had hoped. But they're fun. Green-skinned and charmingly childlike creatures, orcs are the big bulky ones and goblins are the small sneaky ones. There are also trolls and giants in the orc and goblin army, and they are also very entertaining, not to mention stupid. It's a great army for animal lovers too, as long as your taste in animals is broad enough to include creatures such as wild boar and spiders. There are goblin wolf riders, orc boar boys, and various giant spiders, including both the ones ridden by forest goblins and also the truly massive Arachnarok spiders, which are fucking awesome models, by the way. I like spiders. There are all sorts of cool things in the Orcs and Goblins army, with entertainingly random rules, such as the Night Goblin Fanatics that you can launch at the enemy when your Night Goblins advance. They whirl round swinging their big spiked balls and basically have random movement once they are unleashed, but if they do smash into a unit, whether friend or foe, the destruction can be devastating. Vampire Counts are the other undead army, consisting of zombies, skeletons, ghouls, ghosts and vampires. It's great if you're into the whole rotting flesh, raising corpses from the grave horror type of undead. Beastmen are creatures tainted by chaos to be half man, half beast, and they include minotaurs, centaurs and fauns, all of which are given slightly different names. They are savage and animal-like, seeking to bring down civilization and crush it into ruin. I left Skaven and the warriors and demons of chaos until last, because these to me are some of the most unique creations of the Warhammer fantasy world. Skaven are rat people who dwell underground. They utilise warpstone to create unusual weapons and war machines. They are another entertainingly unpredictable army. There's just something about some of their special big models and war machines, such as the Screaming Bell, the Hell Pit Abomination, Doom Wheels and Warp Lightning Cannons, that just really capture my imagination for some reason. Skaven are cowardly and backstabbing, but in large numbers they can be a force to be reckoned with. And the cool thing about them is they attack the surface world every once in a while, and then mankind forget all about them afterwards. They are always underestimated and forgotten, but I can just imagine this onslaught of rat people coming up through the sewers to rise against the cities of the Empire, bringing with them their Screaming Bells, Hell Pit Abominations and Doom Wheels, and the people they attack being like, oh my god, what the fuck is that? Chaos is another thing that seems kind of unique about Warhammer. There are 4 Chaos gods. Khorne, the blood god, represents war and bloodshed, of course. Nurgle represents sickness and decay. Tzeentch is scheming and deceit, but also hidden and magical knowledge. While Slaanesh represents pleasure and stimulation. Slaanesh seems connected with both kink and transgender, which is probably why I've got such a soft spot for that particular Chaos god. The pleasure of Slaanesh can also be pleasure derived from pain, and there is a lot of gender bending among the Slaaneshi demons. Several of them seem to have female breasts on one side, but flat chest on the other side. The Fiends and Seekers of Slaanesh, strange elongated creatures with long tongues, actually have rows of breasts on one side, with flat chest on the other. The Warriors of Chaos are the mortal servants of the Chaos Gods, while the Demons of Chaos are the demons of the Chaos Gods. Tzeentch has all the weird demons, creatures called pink horrors, flamers and screamers. The greater demons of Tzeentch are vulture-like creatures called Lords of Change. Khorne demons are more typical of what you expect demons to be. The greater demons even have horns and wings. Nurgle demons include plague bearers, plague drones and great unclean ones. There is a lot of fun to be had building and painting the models, as there's plenty of scope to be creative with all the maggots, rotting flesh and bursting intestines. The plague drones are plague bearers who ride on the back of giant poison-stinged flies. It's a fun army. Slaanesh demons include the Seekers and Fiends already mentioned, demonette foot soldiers, very fast in battle and with multiple attacks. Anyway, that's the fascinating world of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, to give it its full name. The next time on Geek Out, I will be looking at Middle-earth and the world of J.R.R. Tolkien, the novels and films of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Until then, remember, everyone is different, everyone is special, snowflakes unite.
Go on. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't bite, honest. But you can bite me if you like.